y'all doing? You made it? Yeah, okay, good, great. I love it. Okay, thanks for coming. This is the chips and pickle story. We're gonna have some fun today, okay? We'll finish this story and finish the conference with some fun and some disaster, which will be excellent, but then mostly fun. My name is Dean. You can find me in all of these places. I'll put this up at the end as well, so please do connect with me. I am the principal owner of a company called True Matter in the United States. We do all UX all the time, so we're always working with dev teams and software and complex interfaces. It's fantastic. This is going to be a little bit of a different talk, though. I'm glad you made it, because we finally got to the pickle slide, okay? This is a pickle. Okay, are we clear on that? Yes, okay. How many of you like pickles? You love pickles? Ah, come on. Okay, how many of you are like me and hate pickles? Come on, give me one. Yes, okay. All right, us right here, we're gonna connect. Just, if no one else hears anything, we got this. Okay, I hate them. I hate them to the North Star. I hate them. And I hate them for a couple of reasons. I get it if you love it, but let me just tell you why I don't. In America, when you get lunch delivered, it comes with a pickle. Whether you asked for it or not, it always comes with a pickle. Now, I don't like getting things I don't ask for, but what's worse is when the pickle is on the plate. I understand that some of you who love this, love those briny juices that get into everything else. Right? For me, it infects the plate. It's like a disease on the plate for me. So, since you always get a pickle in the United States, no matter what, I have to have a good practice when I order food. I say, I would like the turkey sandwich. No pickle, please. What happens to me? Yes, I do. I get a pickle. So I've had to practice getting really good at getting no pickle. So I tried lots of different things. Now, I didn't lie because, I'm not going to say I'm allergic to pickles. That's a lie. I just don't like them. So I'm always getting a pickle no matter what I say. So I tried something new one day to see if it would work. I said, well, I would like the turkey sandwich, please, and no pickle. I did that. And you know what? Not bad success rate. Now, I don't know if, the visual just reminded the server later, oh, yeah, that's the guy who didn't want the pickle. Or they go back and say, hey, don't put a pickle on this guy's plate because, I don't know what he's going to do. Okay. Either way, I don't care. I'm just trying to not get a pickle, which brings us to the villain of the story, Jason's Deli. Now, this is a place in the United States, serves sandwiches, great sandwiches, love it. But they're the villain today because no matter what I do at Jason's Deli, I always get a pickle, okay? Doesn't matter. All right, I can do whatever. I get a pickle. Now, as you can see, a lovely sandwich at Jason's Deli. Pickle, see? Okay? That's not on the menu. It's nowhere on the menu. You just get it anyway. So I looked at the menu to try to prove it. I decided, hey, well, are you just lying to me? Surely you talk about pickles somewhere on your menu. Anywhere? Part of it? At some point, maybe? No, still going? Control F just found me JD Pickle Meals. That's just what they call a kid's meal. They don't even claim to put a pickle in the kid's meal called the pickle meal, but they do. By the way, this is only half of the menu. It's a very long page. Okay, now, when I go to Jason's Deli and I order a sandwich, and I say, no pickle. What happens to me? I get a pickle, okay? And one day, I had a bad day. Do you ever have a bad day at work, bad morning at work? Nothing's going right. Code's screwed up. They just changed your deadline to like 2 hours ago. Whatever it is, it's just a bad day. I had one. And I just want to get away. I just want to go get a sandwich, and I just don't want to think about it for 30 minutes. So I go to Jason's Deli. No pickle. I get a pickle, and I'm very upset. Right? I was already in a state. I'm very mad. And this young man walks by. He's the manager. I don't know. He's 20 years old. And how was our meal today? And I say, well, I want to know about your pickle process. And he laughs at me. He's thinking, I'm making a joke. I'm like, no, I'm serious. I want to know about your pickle process. How does it go from me saying to pickle? You got to tell me why that happens every time. And he looks at me and says, I'll find out. Okay, great. So I forget about it. And I'm eating my meal that, of course, I had to send back and get fixed. And he comes back later and he says, I know why. And I said, tell me why. And he says, on the cash register interface at Jason's Deli, there's a button. And that button is the chips and pickle button. Now, at Jason's Deli, you get chips with every sandwich. It's just what you do. You just pick the chips you get. They don't tell you about the pickle. That's just going to happen. But it's written on the interface on one button. I'm thinking, couldn't we just have two buttons? Couldn't we just say, this guy wants chips, and yeah, go ahead and add them. Couldn't we do that for me, just for me? I mean, I know I'm an edge case, but wouldn't that be nice? No. That's what you get. So when you order a sandwich and chips, they press this button for the chips, but you get the pickle, okay? Now, I said to myself, here's the deal. It can't be this bad in every interface they make, so let me look at the mobile site. So I go and look at the mobile site here, and I'm like, okay, great. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to order my turkey sandwich, and let's see how well I can do. So I look through, and I see, now I got all these options for sides now, some of which come with a pickle, and some of which don't. I don't know. Of course, the chips I want, the baked potato crisps, always come with a pickle and nothing else. I'm trying to be very healthy and having the crisps. Okay. Yep. No matter what I do, if I get what I want, I'm going to get the pickle. It's like it's a conspiracy. But I noticed this wonderful little place called Special Requests, and I think, okay, this is where I'm going to tell them, please, 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 for the love of God, please, no pickle. I'm going to write that, but I can't, because that's where it stops. They don't tell me. I counted 25 characters. That's all I get. It just stops. You're done. Oh, I couldn't say anymore. So I said 25 characters. I will give you 25 characters. This is exactly 25 characters with spaces and punctuation. I said, okay, this should do it, right? Perhaps I won't get the pickle, gentlemen, right? Okay. But then I notice I can personalize my meal. Like, who's going to personalize their meal? I mean, really. Dean's fantastic turkey sandwich with no pickle? No. It's another chance to tell them no pickle, right? So, 25 characters, exactly. Yeah, you can't do more than 25, but that's 25 exactly with punctuation. Notice there's no exclamation point. It's a period. I don't have to be excited about that. Okay. Oh. What happened? Yeah, I just got one. I got a pickle anyway. So no matter what I did, I got a pickle. I open up the bag. I'm like, ah! It happened to me again. So basically, in both cases, bad UI choices have completely ruined my sandwich. Ruined. But there's more to it that I want to get to later. Because bad process behind the UI made everything worse. And we're definitely going to come back to this. Now, I know what you're thinking. There are real problems in this world. People are suffering everywhere. I just got a pickle. I understand that this is a first world problem. I get it. It sure does mean something to me, but I get it. I'm spoiled. So let's talk about real problems, shall we? Okay. Let's talk about other interface quirks, kind of, sort of similar to the one we just looked at, that really meant something. Some of you may know some of these, but they're all sort of based in the United States, so you might not know them all. First one, I call it 38 minutes to live. Now, if you were in Hawaii in 2018, and you know what's about to come, don't you? Okay, and you're commuting into work. You're minding your own business. You're just driving into work, and suddenly your phone pops up with a very important alert. And the radio is blaring with a very important alert. And the highway signs are all showing the same important alert to you. And this is the alert that you received. Ballistic missile inbound. Seek shelter. This is not a drill. There's a nuclear missile about to rain down upon you. That's the alert. This is not a drill. And you're thinking, we're kind of close to North Korea over here in Hawaii. They have nukes. They've threatened us with them. Is this it? Did this actually just happen? You can imagine the panic that ensued. I mean, car accidents and all sorts of stuff like that happened. Dude had a heart attack. This thing lasted for 38 minutes, this particular alert. And finally, after 38 minutes, your phone gets another message, and the billboards, another message, and the radio, another message. This is the message. Just kidding, there's no missile. Everything's fine. Okay, that's basically what you get. There's no threat. We were kidding. People are understanding? No. They're very upset. And the next day, this is the newspaper. Oops, someone pressed the wrong button. That's what the governor said. And I'm like, you know, we're digital product people. And a wrong button? Come on, right? So it's not like we have choices like this, or do we? Don't laugh, because I'm about to show you the real thing. This came out the next day, and the Hawaii alert system folks, they said, hey, someone pressed the wrong button. And this was the list they picked from. And this is a terrible list. I mean, look at it. I have to highlight it so you can even see. There's two options you could have picked. One is missiles coming. The other is missiles coming, just kidding. Okay? And I can see how you'd pick the wrong one. Okay? I can see that. Except the next day, they said, oh, no. Actually, that wasn't the screen. This was the screen. So which is it? It's kind of similar. A little bit similar. And I'm looking at it thinking, wait a minute. I make software. I know what this is. This is a drop-down list. This is somebody's software. So I said, I'm going to find out what software this was. It was not easy to find out, but I did. And I found out the company that made the software. I found all their demo stuff. I found their test screens. I found everything. And this was it, okay? This is one of their test screens. Yeah, it's software. Clearly what you can do is set up templates, right? Hey, earthquake. Hey, missile coming in. Hey, tsunami. And, whatever you want, okay? That's fine and dandy, but we're going to get to the problems with this in a second. You can probably see some of them already. And this is the list that they have in their demo. That looks a little bit better, okay? At least I can read it. Now, and it's better than the other one. The second one they showed, right? It's kind of better. Okay, that's great, that's fine. So I have a question, because I make software. Are there not safeguards against random missile alerts? Surely something you could have, had some kind of speed bump, right? The answer is yes. The software did have, well, maybe not quite written like this, but did have a speed bump. So what went wrong, okay? Because the governor says some idiot pressed the wrong button. I don't know. I mean, I know that interface is really bad, but something else is going on, right? So there was a big report I read it. You're welcome. And I'm going to give you all their reasons. Poor computer software design. That was their first problem. I said, okay, I'm not going to argue with that because what we were looking at was really, really bad, okay? There was poor naming, there was poor organization. You could hardly read what these things were. You could see how someone could make a mistake. There are lots of confusing choices. This is really bad for users. You do not have to be a UX pro to know this, okay? You look at it and say, that's bad. All right, fine. There were other software design failures that you may have caught, like live and test in the same dropdown. No, don't do that. That's bad. And something we didn't see, you can write a message and then you can send it, but yeah, you can't review it before you send it. It's just, it's whatever it is you just wrote, you send. Maybe there's typos, maybe not. At least the alert message had no typos. We can be happy about that. Okay, and users are given way too much control. They can customize anything in this software, and so they did. And they made terrible things. But was it enough? Was it enough to cause the problem? I can tell you this. If this were tested in QA, and it was, according to the report, it passed in flying colors. It passed every QA test. It worked as specified. That's all fine and dandy. But they also blamed something called human factors, which is to say idiot people making mistakes. Okay, this is what they blamed. Except the guy who did it, there was one guy, and he pressed the button. He said, no. I did it, and I'm glad I did it, I tell you, because you told me to do it. I was right, and I'd do it again. Like, okay, so what's that all about? And they fire this guy. He sues them back. They countersue him. It's a big deal. Basically, here's what happened. It's mostly process breakdown. And you're going to hear this as sort of an ongoing issue, right? There's this fake disaster, right? There's a botched shift change. You're going to hear this at least twice today, okay? Some people ended a shift. They're about to do a new shift. They decide to do a drill. They don't communicate very well with the new shift that there's going to be a drill, okay? So the very first thing that happens when this guy comes on his new shift is a loudspeaker goes off, and they're about to have this drill announced. Now, he maintains, is this true? I don't know. He maintains that when he hears the buzzer, he goes to pick up the phone instead of listening over the speaker. When he picks up the phone, he is missing the words exercise, exercise, exercise. Oh my God, here's a missile. Go ahead and send an alert. Okay? He only hears the missile incoming part, according to him. There was also bad procedure because you're supposed to say at the end, this is only a drill. And they didn't. They said, we tried exercise, exercise, exercise at the beginning, but he didn't hear that, okay? So he thinks he's done right. It was probably a mistake, who can say? And there is a real inadequate training going on here. Like no one knew how to set up this interface right, because those people who had originally set up, what happened to them? They went on to something else. The new people didn't get trained. Same old story. So that meant there is circular failure. There's this, they don't know what to do. They're like, oh no, there's an alert out there. Let's cancel it. And they're like, we can't cancel it. The software won't let us cancel it. Well, what did we say? We can't review it. We can't do anything. So someone finally said, I know, just send another one. All right? That took 38 minutes to figure out. Right. 38 minutes is a long time if you think you're about to be incinerated. Or maybe you think grandma is about to be incinerated. 38 minutes forever. Okay? Everyone blames everyone else. Counter lawsuits. Who knows who's right? They both have a vested interest in saying the other person was wrong. We don't really know. But I'll tell you this. Led by Hawaii, nearly every state in the United States had to redo all of their alert monitoring software because of this, let alone all of the pain and suffering that happened for people who got in car accidents or the dude who had a heart attack, whatever. Point is, this is a very little interface problem backed up by all this process problem that caused real serious, we're lucky something worse didn't happen. Okay, another one now, United States. We're gonna go back in time, 1979. Was anyone alive then? Anyone at all? Okay, yeah, all right. So 1979, meltdown. Now, in this area of the world, you probably know a lot about what happened at Chernobyl in '86. But in 1979, the United States had a serious problem at a place called 3 Mile Island. This is on the Susquehanna River in Pennsylvania, in the northeast of the United States, densely populated northeast. And basically, without going into too much detail, there was a near meltdown of the plant. And for a couple of days, everyone thought 3 Mile Island reactor 2 was going to melt down. And everyone's like, what do we do? Do we evacuate the entire northeastern United States? 30, 40 million people in 1979? A lot of people, all right? Didn't know what to do. We were freaking out. And by the way, bad timing. Like 3 weeks before this movie, The China Syndrome, came out and was popular in the United States. It was about a nuclear meltdown. And then we have 3 Mile Island. Everyone's like, oh my God, the movie's coming to life. That's what was happening in the United States, okay? Now, it was a big deal, okay? It was very scary for us. But ultimately, there was no meltdown. But for a while, we thought there was going to be. And there was a big investigation. There's the president. This guy is still alive. He's 99, okay? This is President Carter touring in his little booties here, which I think are cool. Now, as a spoiler alert for the interface, you're looking at it. There's lots and lots of stuff in the interface, okay? Spoiler alert. Now, there was a huge presidential commission and a massive report, which I read. You're welcome. And we found the reasons why there was this near meltdown. And it was all this one little light on this entire board of controls, okay? It's called the PORV valve indicator light. Right? We have that. If this light is on, that means the PORV valve is closed. Yeah. Now, that valve needs to be closed or coolant leaks out of the reactor. We don't want that because from what I've heard, nuclear reactors need to stay cool. So if that valve is open, coolant leaks out, temperatures go up, meltdown, okay? Now, are you ready for this? Because it's going to blow your mind. Okay? The PORV valve light is on. That means the valve is closed, right? No. It means a message has been sent to the valve successfully telling it to close. So that light, it's like, I did my job. I sent the message. It's not my problem whether the thing is closed or not. This valve was stuck open, but the light was on, and everyone in the control room was like, what's the problem? It's the PORV valve. No, it's not. It's fine. Let's look elsewhere for the problem. Meanwhile, temperature's going up. Let's fix this. Let's fix that. Nothing's working. What about that PORV valve? No, it's fine. Okay, and we're taking days to sort this out. But there's more. In this control room, on a normal day, there's like 50 alarms or 50 lights are on. There's lots of these lights anyway, okay? That's like normal, not awesome. And let's say one of these lights is malfunctioning. One of these buttons is malfunctioning. Do you just like, you write a support ticket for it? What do? It's 1979, you don't do that. So in 1979, you like take this piece of paper and you say, hey, this thing is broken, and you tie it to the button, okay? That's what you do. And boy, there were a lot of them. There were so many of them that when some lights were on, they were covered by this paper and you couldn't see it. You think you have problems in QA, right? So they're just having all this trouble. Now, here's the big thing I want to get to. We're thinking primarily of function here, okay? The PORV valve indicator light worked exactly the way it was supposed to. It did nothing wrong. If you did a whole big test of the system, you would have found no problems with it, right? Yet, there was a malfunction. So in the case of dealing with all these lights and all these errors and thinking about how they work, basically this is an engineering masterpiece, okay, that didn't quite go right. We're not thinking about usability here. Now, there was also a confused response. The problem occurred during a, let's say it all, shift change, right? When there was a change in people who were taking care of the facility, and they all had to go through the same procedures to try to fix the problem, even though people had already tried it. Okay, this delayed everything. It's a big pain. So they're not communicating very well about the system. Everyone's scrambling to do what's right, but they're actually making it worse. So there's process around this that's a problem. Okay, poor error handling, we can agree on that. Surely, okay. Rigid bureaucratic systems. You had to follow certain steps. I mean, this is a nuclear facility. You don't just try anything, which is understandable. But because people were following all the correct steps, it led them to longer ignore the actual problem until a shift changes again, and one engineer says, well, what if the PORV valve is lying to us? And they're like, come on. And they check it, and the light was lying. That valve was a problem. And so they fixed the valve, and the problem's gone. And everything was fine, okay? But it was a big deal. And of course, this is the main problem and theme you're gonna see a lot. All these problems occur, but no one is wrong. We're looking right into the camera. No one is wrong, okay? All right. Now, how did this affect the United States? Because China syndrome, 3 Mile Island, and then we're like, I don't think we're gonna do nuclear power much anymore. Okay, and you see like this ascendancy of nuclear power in the United States, 3 Mile Island, boom, way down. There's a reason why the United States isn't more heavily invested in nuclear power today, and this is it. The PORV valve indicator light is why, okay? One little interface problem. And by the way, that led to a complete rehashing of all these policies and all the control room issues with nuclear facilities. So in that sense, that was a good thing. Okay, another one. How are we doing? Yes, good, okay. United States again. I live there, what can I say? The year is 2000. I think many of us were alive, surely, okay. If y'all remember, in the year 2000, the United States had a presidential election that didn't go perfectly. And here's the deal in the United States. This is really complex, it's too much. But let me just say, we just don't have an election in the United States where we just count all the votes and say, oh, this person got the most votes. No, we're a collection of 50 states. So each individual state has their own election, okay? And by population, you send a number of electors to say they'll vote for a certain candidate. So if you won the California election, you got 54 electoral votes that go to your candidate. If you won the Texas, you get 32, okay? That's the idea. And at the end of the night, you need to get to 270. At the end of the night, does anyone have 270? No, because there's an undecided 25, this right here. Florida is not sure about this, okay? And there are only, I don't know, a couple hundred votes separating the candidates. That ain't a lot. So you know it's gonna be a problem. And for 6 weeks, we didn't know who our president was gonna be. For America, that's a big deal. We usually, the evening of the election, we're like, yeah, that's the guy, we're done, okay? We had no idea who won. Now, here's why it happened. In Florida, in southern Florida, they use this machine to vote. They don't use it anymore. Even in the year 2000, it was old. It's called the butterfly ballot. Now, it was noticed that in southern Florida at the time, a heavily Democratic state or section of the state, there were a ton more votes than you'd think for this right-wing candidate, Pat Buchanan. So in America, there's Republicans and Democrats, and they're the main parties. There's really no one else. But occasionally a third party will get a few votes. Well, this was a third party, but it's sort of a far-right party. So why would there be votes for a far-right party in a Democratic stronghold? Why? What's going on? And then they looked at this ballot and said, aha, I have a theory. It was right. This is the ballot, okay? I understand your confusion looking at it. It took me a while to understand what was going on here. But basically, you have a piece of paper that goes in under a machine, and you have a little pin, and if you want to choose someone, you're going to poke a hole into the paper for the person you want. But of course, it goes left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. for some reason. And you have all these candidates. So here's the deal. Our two major candidates here, Republican and Democratic, those are like, as most people are going to vote here. And if you wanted to vote Republican, it's very easy to see what to poke a hole in. You poke a hole in number 3, right? You can't really do anything else. Okay, fine. If you wanted to vote for the Reform Party, which really no one was going to vote for, very, very minor party, you can see where to vote, right there. So far, so good. But what if you wanted to vote for the Democrat? Do you put the pin in the number 5 or the first thing you see, right? They kind of could both work. Now, this wouldn't matter very much if the election were not close. But if the election's close, it kind of matters, right? Because if you put your pin through the top one, I mean, congratulations, you just voted for someone you didn't want to vote for, right? So basically this meant for all these weeks, we had to decide what happened. Now, who voted for whom? What if you poke through the paper and the paper didn't break? Is that a vote? What if you poked through the paper and the paper broke, but it's still hanging on? Is that a vote? What if you did it twice? Do you count both? You know, and there were lawsuits about this and counts and recounts and it had to go to the Supreme Court and all of this stuff. Okay, so the basics, right? What can we learn? Inept design, right? It's super awkward. You don't have to be an artist to know that that's a mess, okay? It's a very bad design. Although it worked just the way it was supposed to, that's exactly the way it was supposed to work. It's exactly the way it was designed to work. And this is another one. The design fit what the machine was. They had to set it up left, right, left, right, left, right, because that's the way the machine worked. It's not the way a human reads it. It's just the way the machine counted it. So it just led over time to a bad interface. And of course, they only considered the best case scenario. They never tested for something that would go wrong because nothing ever went wrong. And elections are usually not that close, but when they're that close, everything matters. And so, I mean, now Florida is like, they learned their lesson and like they get all their votes counted like really fast now. And they're like really great. But back in the day, not so much. And of course, no plan for failure. Okay. What this did in the United States was put a little fear into us. We got to look at all our voting machines, all of them, all across the United States, every state, every precinct. Everyone was looking and testing and retesting what could happen if things are close. So we figured some things out, but I mean, that was a bad scene for 6 weeks for us. And there are still people who are angry about it in the United States because it possibly could have gone a different way. And if you have a different person as president, that's a big deal. It's a really big deal in the United States. All right. Okay. Those are real problems. But back to the important stuff. Me, okay? My problems with pickles. I promised I'd tell you the rest of the story, and here it is. Okay. The chips and pickle button. Do you want to know why there was a chips and pickle button on the cash register interface? Do you want to know? Because I wanted to know. And that was the question I asked right after I was told there was a button like this. There is a chips and pickle button on the register because there is only room for one button. That's the reason. That's the whole reason. We only have room for one button, so let's just mash it together and make it fit, right? Fun. And of course, we get the chips and pickle button. Okay, let's first think about the UI offenses here because there are many. It's function fit, isn't it? We fit the design to the machine. That's almost always bad, okay? Almost always bad, like just 99.9% of the time, okay? Of course, it worked just as it was supposed to work. It just didn't work for me, okay? It really sucked for me. All the interfaces are inconsistent, right? It was different on the cash register. It was different in the mobile app. It was different everywhere. And it gets worse, okay? And it's also internally focused. We haven't really talked about that, but we sell chips and pickles, so of course there's a chips and pickle button. Who cares about Dean, okay? Now, I'm like the only guy who feels this way, but what if I weren't? Okay, this is the reason why a lot of software gets screwed up, because we think we have the right idea. We're just thinking about the stuff we make and how we do it, and so we put it out there, all right? This one just happened to not work for me. Okay, but the process was the thing. Would you like to know why I always get a pickle at Jason's Deli? Because I know why. It wasn't just the button. Okay, I do my thing. I order the sandwich. No pickle, all right? The person who's hearing me presses the chips and pickle button. A pickle has been ordered. They have to say, hey, Frank, Dean, he doesn't, no pickle on this. Frank's like, gotcha, okay? And then Frank has all these tickets. My sandwich is not necessarily the next sandwich to be made. It might be down the line a little bit. 3 sandwiches later, maybe Frank doesn't remember. Frank's got muscle memory. Dun, 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 a pickle, bum, 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 bag. My whole process messes up his muscle memory. So I'll get a pickle. But there's more, because when it's busy and at lunchtime, well, there's lots of people in line and there's more than one Frank. So I do my whole thing. No pickle for this guy. Gotcha. Frank's not necessarily the guy making my sandwich. It's probably someone else. They didn't hear, Frank would have had to tell them, but they didn't hear the original order. So of course I'm getting a pickle. Everything conspiring against me to get a pickle. The process is totally against me. Very poor edge case testing. Very poor. I'm the human pickle edge case. All the orders are lost in translation, requiring a human to intervene to get something right. Don't trust people, okay? And there's no controls around it, and this is really the thing right here. I always get the pickle because of that process. Now, let's finish up and think about something a little more serious, because all the stuff with like little itty bitty interface problems and the process behind them is kind of important. And you don't just have to, think about Hawaii or 3 Mile Island or a butterfly ballot to know that. You could just be working on a digital product of your own. This is an intranet that we produced, and we were very happy with it. It's great. We did all this user testing. It's fantastic. It's right there. It's doing exactly what people want. It's efficient. It's fast. Yay. You can find any document you want, any policy or procedure in a hospital as a hospital intranet. We're very pleased with ourselves, because we did a bunch of research, because that's what we do. And we heard people say stuff like this: I can't even do my job without this thing. We're like, yeah, pay us money for this, right? We're very excited. But then we look at the bottom here and we think, no, it's more important. Because some nurses said, hey, if I can't get to these procedure documents really, really, really fast, because I'm on the floor, I'm not at the desk, I'm walking over, I'm taking care of patients, I got to get something. My patient could be dying while I'm taking time. That's what we heard in research. And that got our team's attention. We instantly thought, man, what we're doing here is important. We're going to pay attention. Not that we didn't before, but now we're like really focused, all right? And we're focused on the littlest itty bitty things, all right? Little things mean something. The very little micro interaction you're working on could be the micro interaction that matters. It's somebody designed the PORV valve and somehow specified that it had nothing to do with whether the valve was actually closed. That's a little itty bitty micro interaction that someone got wrong. It's meaningless until it means something. So everything we're doing, the littlest thing, every last word in an interface matters to people as to whether it's efficient, it's productive, it's fast, everything. Correct function is never enough for users. It's never enough. Things function correctly all the time, and they fail for users all the time. These are just, there were a lot of stories, okay? I just picked 3. I could have done a ton of them. They're all over the place. And process is equally as important as interface. There's always something behind an interface problem, a software problem. It's almost always process, some faulty business process that's enabling it or making it worse. And so that's something that we need to consider when we're building something. Hey, what's behind this? What are people doing with respect to this interaction that could mess it up later? Those are questions we rarely ask. And I think we serve something higher. I mean, we are making products that mean something to people. It does, sure, okay, it could be the Jason's Deli Better app. I get it. I would appreciate it. But people would definitely, wonderfully, beautifully appreciate an ideal, efficient, productive, fast intranet. It means something to companies. What we do matters. And this, of course, though, is really what you need to take away from the talk. If you take away nothing else, I really need you to understand this. Am I correct? Yes, I know. You've got to be with me on this. Okay. That is the chips and pickle story. This is me. If you have any questions or you want to chat with me or find me, that's fine. Don't know exactly what you'll ask about, but I could talk forever about Hawaii and 3 Mile Island and other examples. Thank you very much. Enjoy the conference. Thanks.
So, no pickles for Dean. I remember that. It would be so funny if someone would use the address and send you a pickle or something like that. It'd be like.
It's happened.
It would be, yeah, really.
Yeah.
Kind of an angry joke to do, but still. Okay. Do we have any questions about these stories? Okay. Let's shoot with it.
Yes, pickles are terrible. Yes.
No, just about curiosity. Who did win the shoot about the ballistic missile thingy? Like the worker?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. Because the last time I checked, it wasn't settled. It's only been 5 years. So I think the litigation is ongoing. But I assure you, everyone radically blamed the other. There's no doubt. Well, that's a good question. I'm going to look that up again. I honestly haven't looked at in a couple of months, so maybe it's... We'll all Google that together and figure it out. Good question.
Someone had a question here? I saw a hand.
Personally, I think the guy messed up, okay? And I think the guy messed up, okay? But I also think that the process they had was wrong. So I think they were both at fault, and neither one is willing to admit it. So they both sue each other, I think is what happened.
Any more questions? Oh, yeah, there was the question, yeah.
Thanks a lot for the talk. Really nice one. So if you give one advice to a person starting in UX, what would that be?
Ooh.
Just one.
Okay, if I could only say one thing. Yes. You have to spend time with users. You have to spend time with them, which means sit down with them when they're working on something that you're about to remake to understand them better. If you just did that, one thing, almost everything would be better. If the people who made Jason's Deli app just sat with me for 5 minutes, that app would have been way better before it was ever made. But did they? They did not.
I imagine you in that meeting, like, no way.
25 characters?
No way.
At least tell me.
Let's throw out the burgers. Let's throw out something else, but not the pickle. Were there many stories you were choosing from?
Yes. Another story I could have told you, and if anyone wants to stay later, I'll tell you. It was I almost put in this talk was John Denver. He was a country singer in America. Country road, take me home. You know what I'm talking about? To the place. Okay, that's him. Yeah. So he was an experimental pilot, and because of a very bad interface in his plane, right? So he died in an experimental plane crash. The fault was a very simple interface problem. And if anyone wants to know about that, I'll tell you right after. Okay. But there were many more. I could have talked about Chernobyl, honestly.
Was there like one specific button or something that went wrong, like with the design, or?
There was to make a long story short, and I'll give you all the details if you want them later. The button was behind him, and he had to put a mirror in front of him so he could see where the button was.
Perfect design.
And in
Sounds
reaching back to get it, he hit something else.
Wow.
Well, I'll tell you the rest
That's
of it.
how I want to see atomic plans working with the mirrors.
He
reaching
may have
behind.
been drinking, I don't know, or smoking, but it was the interface too.
Wow.